Hey everybody, my name's Kyle and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Today I'm taking a look at the new album from one of my favorite bands, Barenaked Ladies. I've been a fan of these guys since just about the very beginning and I've seen them in concert more times than any other band. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about the music of Barenaked Ladies, be sure to check out my Worst to First video elsewhere on my channel. In that video, I'll rank all of Barenaked Ladies' albums from worst to first, including Fake Nudes. The 2017 release from the Canadian quartet is their 12th studio album, not including their Christmas album or their children's record. It's also their 4th album since the departure of founding member Stephen Page in 2009. Page was a pretty big presence on all of the BNL albums he was involved with, playing Lennon to Ed Robertson's McCartney. Now, what's been interesting to see in the post-Page years is how the other members of the band have stepped up to fill the gap as songwriters. And I have to say, I'm more than a little surprised to see how much of the heavy lifting has been taken on by keyboardist Kevin Hearn. The last few BNL albums have each featured 1 or 2 songs from Hearn, but on Fake Nudes, he contributes nearly half the tracks on the record. Now, that's kind of a big deal because how much you enjoy this album may depend on how much you like Kevin Hearn's meek vocal style. We've only had a small taste of it on previous albums, probably small enough not to be, shall we say, distracting. Meanwhile, I've also noticed that Ed Robertson's voice is sounding strained on many of his songs on the recent BNL albums. There's a bit of a warble in his voice sometimes, and the tone isn't as pure and strong as it used to be. Now, I guess that goes along with getting older, but Ed's not that old. I'm kind of surprised they don't do more in the studio to kind of smooth over those imperfections. Alright, so without further ado, let's dive into the music on Fake Nudes, starting with track 1. The album opens with Canada Dry, a song that is essentially a love song to the band's homeland. The lyrics are chock full of references to Canadian icons, including Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and Gord Downie, the recently deceased lead singer of the Tragically Hip. It's a surprising track to open the album with, kicking things off in a more melancholy mood than usual. You can also hear the strain in Ed Robertson's voice that I was talking about very clearly on this track, especially with the acoustic instrumentation, and that doesn't help to hide the imperfections. Still, it's a decent song, and I can imagine it will be even more popular among their fellow countrymen. Bringing It Home kicks things up a bit and sounds more like the fun-loving band that we're all used to. It's a bit formulaic, though, like the band is just taking the template from an older song like Pinch Me and filling in new words. Now that might work okay if those new words were a bit more clever, but lyrics like "we bagged it up and we're bringing it home" fall more on the cliche side of songwriting rather than witty wordplay. On the bridge, Ed gets to flex his rap skills, which kind of works better than the singing if I'm being honest. Then suddenly we get a piano breakdown and the song briefly seems to transform into See You Again, the Wiz Khalifa song from the Fast and the Furious movie. Then there's the background chants on the chorus, "Hey, ho." Look, I have no doubt that that'll be a lot of fun in concert, but on the album, it's more than a little eye-roll inducing. Kevin Hearn's first track on the album is Invisible Fence, a song about the metaphorical barriers that divide us. It's a song about politics without being blatantly political. There's more than a little flavor of They Might Be Giants on this song, not to mention a sort of throwback to the guitar sound of the Byrds, believe it or not. Now, like I said before, Kevin Hearn's style of vocal and songwriting isn't for everyone, and a little goes a long way with me usually, but I actually really like this track, especially musically. It may be one of my favorite tracks to feature Kevin on any of their albums, in fact. But remember, there are 5 more Kevin songs to come, so we'll see. What can I say about Looking Up? Right from the start, this song feels like it was created to soundtrack a montage scene in a comedy movie or maybe an orange juice commercial. This is Barenaked Ladies at their bounciest. Is that a word? Anyway, this is a feel-good song with the optimism cranked up to the max. There's not much substance here, but there's nothing offensive either. And the truth of the matter is, this song could have been a huge hit for the band 15 years ago. As a follow-up to a song like One Week, this would have been a smash. In 2017, it kind of feels dated. Still, if you're a longtime fan, Looking Up certainly delivers on the familiar BNL party sound. As we move into the down-tempo Ed Robertson ballad Sunshine, it finally finally starts to feel like the band is hitting its stride. Yes, the song is more or less a clone of You Run Away from All in Good Time, but with more of an 80s vibe. Still, this is the exact right song to follow the sugar bomb of Looking Up. Ed's vocals are pretty solid here too, which makes me wonder if he has good days in the studio and not so good days. I just wish he'd recorded a few more songs on this particular day. Track 6 is called Dusty Rooms, and it's another Kevin Hearn track. As pleasantly surprised as I was to enjoy his first track on the album, I was equally unamused by this song. I'm not a huge fan of Kevin's vocals to begin with, so hearing him sing on such a stripped-down track doesn't necessarily help. On top of that, there's quite a few cliches scattered throughout the lyrics of this song, and that made me roll my eyes more than once. Definitely one of the album's weaker moments. Now, I've talked a lot about Kevin Hearn's song contributions to Barenaked Ladies over the past few albums, but it's also worth mentioning the contributions from bassist Jim Cregan. After all, Cregan was a founding member of the group, and his track record practically matches Hearn's with around one song per album. On Fake Nudes, that song is We Took the Night, a mid-tempo rocker that reminds us how diverse the talent is in this band. It's kind of a shame we don't hear more from Cregan. I don't think he's as strong a songwriter as Ed Robertson, but he's a stronger vocalist than Kevin Hearn. And as the band has tried to find its balance after Stephen Page's departure, I wish they'd find more chances to highlight Cregan. I wouldn't call We Took the Night one of the best tracks on the album necessarily, but it is a refreshing moment nonetheless. Ed Robertson is back on the mic on the next track. Navigate has a nice ethereal feel to it that's actually really similar to a lot of recent Coldplay music. Lyrically, there's some interesting ideas here too. Unfortunately, the song doesn't seem to really go anywhere. It doesn't develop into anything more than a singular theme, so it ends up being kind of sonic wallpaper, more or less. Now, on top of that, I found Ed's occasionally strained vocals to be a distraction. This isn't even a powerhouse song. It doesn't require any heavy lifting from a vocal perspective, which makes Ed's unsteady voice here all the more obvious. I do like the way the song blends into the next track, though. That's pretty rare for Barenaked Ladies, and it's a cool effect here. And Flying Dream is a good pairing for Navigate. As lackluster as that song was, having it blend into the next song actually elevates it a little bit, if that makes any sense. Flying Dream is also a Kevin Hearn song, so the change up in vocals is nice from a transitional perspective. The way this song layers harmony vocals on top of Kevin's lead goes a long way toward giving his voice more substance. For my taste, that helps a lot, and I actually think the song has a kind of Simon and Garfunkel vibe to it, which was really unexpected. The storytelling and the lyrics is much stronger here than on Kevin's previous track too, so that's refreshing. Maybe Kevin can win me over after all. The second half of this album alternates vocally between Ed and Kevin on every other track, and on Nobody Better, we're back to Ed. Now, this is a very electronic song with a lot of interesting production going on, lots of synthesizers, lots of little noises and curious bits of sound, lots of layered vocals. It's a short track, barely clocking in at 3 minutes, and I think that brevity serves the song well. This isn't the deepest track the band has ever recorded, or the hookiest, but what it does well. Then on Bag of Bones, we're back with Kevin on lead vocals for a truly oddball song. And musically, this song is all over the place. One moment we've got a stomping beat and bouncing horns, and the next it's lush Beach Boys harmonies, and after that comes early 80s hip-hop. And then there's the chorus lyrics. Big dogs, barking dogs, biting dogs. Honestly, I don't know what to make of this song. It's definitely Barenaked Ladies at their quirkiest, and a little of that goes a long way. Do I like it? It's okay. It's probably not a track I'll skip, so, you know, take that for what it's worth. You and Me Versus the World finds Ed back on lead in a very 80s flavored mid-tempo song. The guitars remind me of The Police, kind of a wrapped around your finger and a little bit of Every Breath You Take. I really like this song. It's one of my favorites on the album, which makes it all the more a shame to hear Ed's vocal warble so pronounced here. For the final two songs on the album, Kevin Hearn takes over. 2020 Hindsight is a song that totally sounds like it might have been a Stephen Page song when he was in the band a decade earlier. It's a good rocker, and I dig the music a lot, but Kevin's vocals get completely overwhelmed by the overpowering guitars and bass. With a similar vibe to We Took the Night earlier on the album, this would have been a good opportunity to let Jim step up to the mic again. I think his voice might have been able to hold its own better than Kevin's does. But on Township of King, we find Kevin back in the kind of song that usually serves his voice well. It's a folky, acoustic song with a slightly Celtic feeling to it. The production and instrumentation is lush, and there's some really nice storytelling in the lyric. Again, I'm not a big Kevin Hearn fan, but his style works well on this song, so I think he helps deliver a solid album closer. In the end, I have to say that Fake Nudes isn't one of the stronger Barenaked Ladies albums. That being said, I think it's mostly on par with the other post-Stephen Page releases. It's a little bit better than Grinning Streak, but not quite as good as Silver Ball. And as I said at the beginning of this review, how much you like Kevin Hearn is going to impact how much you like this album, because there is a lot of Kevin Hearn on Fake Nudes. There's also a couple of strong reminders of the kind of musical fun that made Barenaked Ladies popular in the first place. I just wish there was more of it. And I also want to add that while there are several songs on this album that I thought were just so-so, I have a feeling that they'll play better in concert. So I'm giving Barenaked Ladies Fake Nudes an X rating of 6 out of 10, which, for perspective, is about how I'd rate their previous 2 albums as well. Speaking of which, be sure to check out my worst to first video for Barenaked Ladies right here on my channel. Once again, my name's Kyle and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. If you like what you see, please be sure to click the thumbs up icon, and of course, be sure to click subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.